Hello guys, good evening. Tuesday, May 27th, Interstellar Ape says, why is it I always get big job contracts when the market gets so exciting? I know, right? Never fails. Funny story, the day that AMC was running back in 2021, well, I was at my son's graduation, sitting up in a stadium, high school graduation. And I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to monitor what's going on and watch a 3-hour graduation? It was a bit of a mess, Interstellar Ape. Things never seem to work out exactly the way we want them. Plan a vacation. That's when whatever stock you're trading is probably going to squeeze. We got a couple of exciting things to talk about today. GameStop and AMC, some of the other cinema stocks all ran up as well. I did a little more digging on DJT and MSTR, so maybe we can talk about those tonight. DJT is offering up some shares and bonds, and the price obviously, went down today because of that. We'll kind of just briefly go through the filing. Some of y'all may already be familiar with that. And for those of you that aren't, that trade DJT from time to time like I do, let's get caught up on what's going on, because they are going to be setting up a Bitcoin treasury. And it's further along than I thought after reading up on it a little bit today. MSTR, someone had asked me last night about the shareholder lawsuit, and I was not up to speed on that. So I did a quick speed run through on that. Maybe we can talk about that tonight. They are being sued for some accounting disclosures related to the valuation of Bitcoin. We'll get more into that in just a little bit, but let's let a few folks hop in here, and we'll talk about GameStop first, and then all of the different movie stocks. All of the cinema companies sending out press releases today talking about a record-breaking Memorial Day weekend. We love to see it. We love to see it. And all of the cinema stocks were up today. AMC in particular, someone asked me in a DM, why do you think AMC was up? It's more of a tinderbox. The shorts are a lot more bearish on AMC. It has higher short interest. And as soon as the news starts shifting a little bit, some of those shorts who were down there in really low, had sold short at a low price, they probably weren't feeling so comfortable. Let's put up the AMC chart here. Let's just talk about that for a second. They probably weren't feeling so comfortable. And so they started closing out some of those shorts. And I don't know. I haven't looked at, let's get rid of RSI and MACD. There was probably some bullish buying going on too, just in general in the entertainment segment, because people are starting to wake up that Q2 is not going to be the disaster that the analysts have been saying that it was going to be. And if you know what I mean, I'm talking about if you go look at the analyst revenue estimates for Q2, I think they're pretty low for an AMC. They might have been right sized for IMAX and Cinemark, because those companies give guidance about revenue. AMC does not. So the analysts kind of penalize them for that and come up with their own revenue numbers, and they're not usually very optimistic. And I think we saw a little bit of correction of some of that today. Anya, good evening. How are you? The other thing that we are looking at, and thanks to Dink in Discord for pointing this out, it is worth mentioning, besides the fact that we have this supply zone up here, going back to December, when AMC got around 550, that's kind of a higher level resistance zone that I'm looking at, but we also have the 200 EMA, this bright orange line here, and that is around $4.20, $4.18, $4.20. So that'll be an interesting level to watch this week to see if it can push through that and move on up. I'm not making any firm predictions. You know, this was clearly a huge candle today on very good box office news and maybe some sentiment changing. Can we build on that? I would love to see it. I'm sure AMC would love to see it too. Or do we reject off? Stay tuned Wednesday and Thursday and we'll find out. Phoenix, good evening to you. Promar, good evening. He says, my video and audio is off sync. Is it? Mic check 1, 2. Try hitting refresh on your screen. See if that helps. Anybody noticing a big problem with the audio and video? So that's kind of what I wanted to say about AMC tonight. I'm not going to do a 1-hour live stream on AMC. Clearly the news was good. We were expecting it to be a big weekend. It exceeded my expectations. Anya says it. Someone said this morning it was like watching a Godzilla movie. Let me do the old movie studio thing. Yeah, there is a delay in there. It's about a 1-second delay. You know when they do that clap, that little clapboard, that's kind of a sound check. Let me see if I can do anything here to fix that without rebooting everything. Every now and then it does do that. I could just hide my face. We could just do this. We could just do this all night. Normally when that starts happening, like if I'm getting ready to film a video, I just shut down Streamlabs and open it back up. I've never had that problem, I guess, other than last night. I didn't even know about it last night. Interstellar Ape says he's worked on so many film sets in my time. Yeah, you know, they speed, rolling, quiet on set. I've been on a couple film sets, Interstellar. It is a fun experience. I would love to get back into doing that if I could give up some more of my time for free. Anya says, are there storms in your area? Not tonight, Anya. It stormed very badly last night. No tornadoes here. All right, so AMC, we talked about the 200 EMA. We talked about the supply zone up here around 560. I don't know where it's going to go. I saw some people talking about they had sold $3.50 calls, $4 calls, $5 calls. My guess is that $5 calls are probably safe. We'll find out if you sold them for this Friday. Obviously, I did not sell any calls this week because I don't have a position. And yes, we kick ourselves on days like this when, you know, you could have bought in at $2.40 and it runs up to $4. I would have loved to participate in that run up, but I'm sticking to my DD for my own risk management. But man, what a great opportunity this run up presents here for anybody that bought down here in this demand zone. For me, you know, my due diligence is all about timing of any potential short-term corporate actions, and predicting that timing is tough. Predicting that timing is tough. And we knew that things were likely to start running in Q2 with a great Q2. What we didn't know was what was going to be the timing of the corporate meeting or a proxy. We were kind of expecting the proxy in April for a June meeting, and they have their own agenda, their own schedule this year, I guess. They're not doing what I expected. So I'm still patiently waiting, but yeah, it's a bummer to watch this, but it does make me happy if some of you guys are locking in gains or making money, especially, man, if you had short-term call options that you bought. Woo, baby. Anya, I put on Clint so you don't have to see that there's a disconnect between my camera and the mic. Josh, oh wow, that's an interesting question. He says, oh, I want to test something out here. I was messing around to see if I could pin. Can I not pin a multi-stream message? Come on, man. Freaking Streamlabs. I was trying to set it up where I could pin messages, but it looks like I can only, in this Streamlabs desktop, I can only pin them from Twitch. Well, that's a bummer. I'll have to do a little more digging. I wanted to test that out today, but it looks like it's not going to work. Let me check the settings on this source. Yeah, I'll check it when I'm offline. American Dream, thank you, buddy. Long time no see. I saw you pop in here a few weeks ago. Good to see you again. Hope you're doing well. If that is the American Dream I'm thinking of, a fellow Texan, at least he was last time I checked. Let's get back to Josh's question. He says, if AMC never had the squeeze meme ape movement, in other words, just a normal stock, where would you guess the price would be? I think it would be already have filed Chapter 11 and exist in private hands, Josh. There's been 2 times now where if it was not for retail, AMC would have, without a doubt, in my opinion, filed bankruptcy. That is in 2021 and in 2023. 2021, obviously, the run up and selling some shares and having the ability to, whatever they made, $1 billion or 1.5, to give them liquidity to last until the end of 2023. And then when they did ape, if it wasn't for retail sticking with them, ape sucked for everybody. I get it, but that was a second opportunity that the company could have just filed Chapter 11. They were running low on cash, and the runway was running out, and they were out of shares. And look, we're not really getting into a good quarter until now. This is 5 quarters past, 6 quarters maybe past when ape came out. They would have, in my opinion, without a doubt, filed bankruptcy if it wasn't for ape. Just the runway running out on cash. But to go, maybe to a more micro level instead of a macro level on your question, what would the price be right now? All right, let's just forget about the past. If retail was not involved, what would the price of AMC be? Probably around $3, whatever the analyst's average price target is. I think there's some extra bubble on AMC price from the speculative nature of retail traders, the options trading, and keeping the shorts on their toes. So that's kind of what I think. Probably around $3 right now. Phoenix says, isn't Antara closing out? I'm pretty sure Antara got out of the AMC ape trade when the conversion happened. That was a transactional deal for them. They were oh, you mean they're closing down. Yeah. Antara was in my mind out of AMC and ape in 2023. But yeah, the fund is closing down as well. Promar says, what do you think the fair value price is with the current revenue cash of AMC? It's hard to do a normal fair value analysis of AMC because typically what we want to do is start with 12-month forward earnings and a industry PE ratio. And so you got to ask yourself, what is AMC likely to book for earnings over the next 12 months, the next 4 quarters? Let me pull up ye old spreadsheet and let's just think of a scenario here. Google Sheets. Ye spreadsheet. All right. I'm not going to put this on the screen, but I have through 2026 already mapped out for revenue, earnings, and net income. Why? I'm not going to put it on the screen because revenue estimates are based on box office estimates, and the cost structure is going to change over the next year. Many things are going to change, so I don't want to get some numbers out there in the internet right now that are going to be different a year from now. But let's just kind of use the framework of what we have right now. If we say that let's just be optimistic. Let's say 10 billion for this year. And let's say 10, what do y'all want for 2026? 10, 5, 11? What number should we pop in for 2026? Give me a couple, I'll take the average. 10 billion, 10 and a half, 11? What are you guys thinking? Matt, how you doing? All right, let's just say 11. That would give me for this year, I'm still coming up with a negative earnings for 2025. But if we break it down by quarter and just focus on Q2, Q3, and Q4, we're in the neighborhood of, just being conservative, 12 cents on a 10 billion box. Am I Q4, Q3, Q2, Q1? That is 8 billion for Q2 through Q4 plus 1.4. Let's bump up Q5 to 2.5. Q3, I mean. All right. So that gets us to about 18 cents. Maybe 28 cents. Let's be optimistic. Let's say AMC is going to capture at least average market share. We're looking at 28 to 35, 37 cents for the year, the remaining 3 quarters. And let's just say, for the sake of this example, that Q1 is break even, Q1 next year. So let's just work with 35 cents times, this is all just theory, like how would you come up with a price target looking at forward earnings. 35 cents times a PE of, I'll be generous, 25. $8.75. 37 cents times a PE of 20, $7.40. So, I mean, I think those are reasonable earnings-based price targets, assuming that the box office excels the remainder of this year and, you know, it has a break-even or profitable quarter every quarter for the next 4 quarters, Q2 through Q1 next year. And that is where I stop my analysis. I know a lot of people in like stock retail, he likes to look at price to sales. I don't see any analysts giving price targets based on price to sales, so I don't use that. It's more of a secondary tool you could use to compare companies. It's not a tool that is used to generate price targets. I was happy to see him using PE ratio in a recent video. In the GameStop side, they like to look at the balance sheet, which is kind of silly because balance sheet is not earnings, and your price targets are derived from future earnings expectations. So I always just keep it simple. Start with what do you think earnings are going to look like, and then multiply it times a reasonable PE ratio. Some companies have unreasonably high PE ratios because people have very high expectations about they're not only betting on the next 12 months, they're betting on 24, 36 months. You look at like a Palantir, for example, or a Tesla with sky high PE ratios. People are not just betting on 12 months, they're betting on several years ahead. That's why those PE ratios get so high. That's fine as long as the news is all good, but you know what happens if one of those companies ever has a bad quarter, the PE ratio comes down, or they change their guidance, the PE ratio comes down to back down to earth. So hopefully that answered y'all's question about what do we think the price